It is Monday, June 10th, I think. Yes, June 10th. I don't know why I kept thinking it was the 8th still, but no, it's June 10th. I am currently on my way to work, and I basically am picking up this vlog right after the last vlog because obviously I'm on my way to work. It's the first day of the week, and this morning I was not feeling very well. I woke up with a bit of a headache and was a little nauseous, but Robert actually ended up getting home a little early from his shift. He took an extra shift last night that he didn't need to, but he did, and this morning he was able to actually get home before I even woke up this morning completely, and made me breakfast in bed, which was really sweet. So that kind of helped. Eating something kind of helped with getting rid of my headache a little bit. I still feel a little nauseous, but I'm hoping that that's gonna pass as I kind of get through the day. I hope at least. We had a lot of rain yesterday on Sunday. It basically rained like all day for the most part. So I think that that's partially why I'm not feeling as well, because if in Michigan we get a lot of rain over the course of like several days, or like a lot of rain in one day, I usually get like either headaches or migraines because there's like a pressure change that happens, and that affects my body really, really badly. Anyway, so this week my big goal, like I said at the end of my last vlog, is that I want to finish The Dancing Girls by M.M. Chonard. I am about 47% of the way through it at the moment, so I am not going to finish it by any means at night, but because this week, like I said in the last vlog, I'm not uploading any videos, I think that that's going to give me a better opportunity to finish it, because I'm not going to be focusing on those videos over the course of the week. And the reason I am not posting videos is because over the weekend, on Saturday night, this past weekend, I went home, and because I had a friend who was coming home from Florida, and I wanted to see him, and I was going to see him Sunday, and then I saw him Sunday. I had to come back to Mount Pleasant and had to go get groceries with Robert, and by the time I had any time to do anything, it was like 9:30 at night, and I had to go to bed because I had to get up early this morning. The thing is, I think 2019 has been a year so far where I think I've taken more account of my mental health than I have ever before. And that's really good considering the fact that most other times it would be, I would just stress myself out so bad that I'd make myself sick over things. And I think that that is such a huge improvement in myself. And so far this month already, in the first week of the BiblioGames, I finished 2 books which completed 2 different challenges. So I feel pretty good about where I stand with myself with the BiblioGames. Like, I would really like to try to finish all my challenges if I can. I'm pretty happy with how things are going. I'm liking the books I've read. I mean, I had my first read, which was Feel Good 101, be another 5-star, because obviously this was the 3rd time I read it, so it was a 5-star for me already, and it still was just as good as the other times I read it. A Man Called Uwe was really good. I really liked it a lot. I gave it a 4-star, and so far The Dancing Girls is a solid 4-star. I'm pretty impressed with it. It's just a little slow, I think, for right now, but I don't know, like it's really sitting between a 4 and a 5-star. Like, I'm not quite sure where it's gonna stand until I think I get further into the story, because like I said, I'm almost halfway through it at this point, so I don't know, maybe it'll be a 4-star, maybe it'll end up being a great 5-star read, but I'm really enjoying it so far, which is good. Like, I'm actually starting to enjoy some of the books I'm reading right now. Good morning, everyone. It is now Tuesday. I had just left my apartment and I'm heading to work. So yesterday I did get to read a little bit, not as much as I wanted to, but I ended up reading about 34 pages of The Dancing Girls. I am now over halfway through it. I'm like 58% of the way through it when I looked at it before I went to bed. And it's getting very interesting, but it is very, very dark. Like, I would not recommend this for many people unless I think you're able to handle the extreme content that is involved with the story. So basically, there's huge trigger warnings for abuse, sexual abuse in general. One of the things, though, I don't think I like about this story is I feel like I don't really know my main character at all. So the story basically starts off with her talking about, like, besides the case, her talking about her relationship with this guy that she's been with for about 6 months, and apparently something's happened to her because she had a former, I think, fiance end up getting killed, and it's not explained how or what happened, but she's very timid about relationships, especially because she is a lieutenant and is often gone for long periods of time. I feel like I'm not really getting a whole lot about her. I don't know, just something about this story. I just don't feel really that satisfied with understanding my main character. Maybe I need to read more of it to fully understand Jo as a character, but right now I'm just not getting her. I'm just not understanding her, I think, in the way that she needs to be understood. So that's kind of where I am at this point in the story. It is sitting more at a 4-star. I almost wonder if this story would have just been fine if it was just left to either the detective perspective or the villain perspective, because both perspectives are in this story. But a lot of times with the breakup of these chapters, you get maybe 1 or 2 chapters in a row of Jo's perspective. None of them are labeled, by the way, as to whose perspective they are, which is a big pet peeve of mine when it comes to multiple perspective-based stories. And the villain guy, he ends up getting like 4 or 5 chapters in a row, but a lot of times they're a lot shorter than the detective ones, which is okay, I think, considering the fact that, again, they're much smaller in size and they happen a lot quicker. And then Jo's chapters are a little bit more lengthy because of the fact that there's a lot of information that she has to get usually. But again, I just don't feel like I quite understand my main character enough, and I almost wonder if it would have been better to have this story as just the detective perspective of the story, so that I could get more on Jo's side of things, because I have a lot on the bad guy's side that I can, talk about in a review. But I don't really know a lot about Jo, other than the fact that she's had a lot of men in her life that have either died or something has happened to them, and she feels kind of like the reason why, and it's making her have a hard time having actual relationships now at almost 40. And she's overwhelmed with work. Her parents are divorced. They have been since, I think they said she was 13. Mom lives in like the Massachusetts area where the story takes place, and her dad lives in New Orleans, and she goes off to New Orleans every once in a while to visit her dad, like once a year, I think. So, I mean, I'm getting points of her life, but I don't feel like I really understand. Like, you feel like you kind of know her, but you don't really know her. Like, I don't know her, I think, on a really deep emotional level like I want. Hey guys, so it is just after 8 o'clock at night, and I just finished The Dancing Girls by M.M. Chouinard. I finally finished it. Oh my god, it took me for freaking ever to get through the whole thing, but so I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars, and the thing is it kind of still has some of the problems that I was talking about earlier, where I just didn't feel like I really connected a lot with the main character. I will say that the story did itself get better, and the ending of the story did not go in the way I thought it was going to. It completely, changed everything. So there's just a lot that went on at the end of the story, and it actually plays well into ideas for what goes on in the next one. Now, as far as what I'm going to be reading next, I'm still waiting on my audiobook for A Storm of Swords. I should be getting it soon though, because I think I am the next in line to get it. So it's really just going to depend on how quickly the person in front of me can get through it. As far as my next arc, that's my most important thing, because as you guys know, I work through all my arcs first within the month. And the next one I'm going to be working on, I think, depending on if I like it enough, is going to be Dusk and Ember. I don't remember the author's name off the top of my head. This is still one of my main arcs. I'm still working through them. I have quite a few still to go through. I think I have, after Dusk and Ember, like 2 or 3 other arcs from May to get through before I can touch my June ones. I'm kind of honestly going back and forth a lot with whether or not I want to continue making videos, because I'm kind of running out of steam with them, to be completely honest, and I feel like right now especially, I am more concerned with reading what I want to read in my own time than being on a set schedule, which I tend to do a lot because I'm on YouTube and stuff like that and trying to get through all these arcs. Getting really tired of doing the tags and stuff like that. I'm getting tired of the vocal covers. I'm just starting to wonder if maybe I should just stop doing those and do more like weekly vlogs like this, because I tend to like these a little bit more and I don't have to work on them as often as I would other videos, and maybe just working on the TBRs and wrap-ups and then the odd review here and there if I ever get to a book where I'm actually going to review it on my channel, like my rereads or my random books of the month kind of thing. I feel like it's just going to make things a lot easier for me. Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday. I am well on my way to work. I'm basically on the highway to work. So you guys know now I am working a actual full-time position compared to my last job, where full-time was like if I could get all the hours I wanted in a week without, you know, having any problems with sales. This job I have now is an actual full-time gig. I am working at like 8 to 4 in the morning approximately, depending on exactly when I get there. But I'm working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I have to have 40 hours in at the end of every week. So when I get home at the end of the day, after having a 40-minute commute back from work, I am very tired. Typically my routine would be I would sit and edit videos for the rest of the night. Now, when I had my other job, it was fine because a lot of times I'd be out way earlier in the day and I would have the time to sit and edit the video and have it ready before like 6 o'clock in the evening or so, when I would want to just sit and relax for the rest of the night. That's not the case anymore. Like I said, I'm usually getting home, I leave work about around 4 o'clock. I'm usually home anywhere between like 4:20 and 4:40, depending on what time I get out of work. And I'm just very tired just from the drive and the day and everything. So I don't want to sit and edit videos. And the thing is it never used to bother me until recently, because now I'm getting to the point where I'm getting irritated with editing videos or even thinking about editing videos. And I never used to be like that. Like, editing was one of my favorite parts of making videos in general, because I love going to being able to go back and watch what I did and being able to make the video exactly how I want it to be in editing for the most part. And now it's like I dread sitting and editing videos after I get home from work. So obviously there is something wrong. And to be completely honest, I'm also getting tired of the content that I am making on the channel, where every week I post the same stuff. I had brought up the Slime Rancher and World of Goo videos because I thought that might add a little bit of difference to my channel again, like it would change things up a little bit, but I still am not thinking that it's really doing me any favors. And right now, I just think that I'm putting out too much content right now for what I can handle. And here's what I'm thinking of happening, and it's gonna probably start going into effect starting this week. And that is reserving myself to a weekly vlog a week where I share what's going on with my life and also my reading progress and even my writing progress, depending on how I'm feeling. Also reserving myself to doing an occasional review where, like I've been doing for the last like maybe year or so, reserving my reads to books that I have specifically for a reread series, or books that I am doing for a random TBR. Then the last kind of video I think I will be making is going to be at the beginning of every month, which will be my monthly wrap-up for the month before and my monthly TBR for the current month that I am in. I think it's going to work best for me. It is much less work editing-wise. I can edit things on the weekends and have it ready to post the next day when I get home from work, and it's not nearly as irritating to do than it would if I was to continue doing what I'm doing now. And I feel like this is going to make my mental sanity a little easier to bear. So I hope you guys understand. If you like some of the series, I think I will continue with The Sims 4 at least, just to finish out the story, because I really like where that story's going. Anyway, tonight I am going to be reading Dusk and Ember, like I said last night, and I still don't know what kind of genre it is. I know that it's written by Robert Jacoby, that's about it. And I do know that after this book, I will have 3 more arcs from May to read before I go to my June ones. Hey guys, so it is just after 9 o'clock in the evening now, and within the next like half hour, I'm actually going to be getting ready for bed, I think. But I wanted to update you guys with what I ended up doing tonight as far as reading. So I started Dusk and Ember by Robert Jacoby, excuse me. I was about to say Rakeaby, and that was not at all the name. But no, I started Dusk and Ember by Robert Jacoby, and unfortunately I didn't really care for the beginning of it. I only got like 14 pages read of it. I don't care for the writing style. It's a little confusing because even in a present state of mind, or more so a present state of mind, the narrator just kind of goes back and forth between small memories of things of the past. Like, it'll be talking about, what exactly is happening in the current moment, and then it jumps back to a flashback that has nothing to do really with what is actually going on. Because of that, I decided to start on the next arc that I had for May, which was Homecoming for the Cowboy by Nicole Helm. And then, so now I am 63 pages into that. I might try to read a little bit more before I end my night here, but I'm now a third of the way in almost, and because it's a very short book, it's an adult romance, so they're very quick to read, and I can definitely finish it tomorrow when I get out of work. It is a male-female romance story dealing with a woman named Sadie, who is like the daughter of a really affluent farmer in a way. Like, they've basically built this farm, a goat farm that basically has, some kind of reputation. People come see it all the time, but unfortunately for her, she finds out that the farm is essentially going under because of the fact that her father had gotten sick and he is unable to take care of it, and so he basically brings on a man named Colt, who is actually kind of like Sadie's foster brother in a way. He was unofficially adopted by the family along with two other boys when Sadie was very young, and she kind of always had been rubbed the wrong way with Colt because Colt had a very dry, sardonic sense of humor, and Sadie always just kind of butted heads with him growing up. And after several years of not seeing Colt, or seeing him very, briefly in moments of time over several years, Sadie's father decides to bring him on to try to help with saving the farm and, getting it to where it needs to be. And Sadie's not too happy with it because she doesn't really care for him, but she also has a strange, not quite attraction to him, but she's always kind of felt like this weird, affinity to him despite how much she doesn't like him. And Colt it's also split in his perspective, where he's dealing with his own demons, his past being one of them, with the fact that he had an alcoholic, abusive father, and also that he made a promise to Sadie's father when he was a lot younger that he would never touch one of his daughters, would never be involved with them. And as he's gotten older, it's been very hard for him to be removed from that, because it seems that to me that from a very young age, Colt was in love with Sadie, and he still is. And so a part of the story is him struggling with that because he doesn't want to break his promise to Sadie's father, and he also still really, he wants her. He wants to be with her, but he knows he can't if he wants to keep being the good graces of her father, who is a mentor to him, is basically the guy that saved his life in a way. That's kind of all I got for you guys tonight. Like I said, I think I might read a little bit more of Homecoming for the Cowboy, maybe like another chapter before I start getting ready for bed, and then I will definitely be finishing it tomorrow since the book is not very long at all. I'm already, like I said, 63 pages in. I'll probably get to closer to 80 pages, and it's only 212, so it won't take me very long to finish it tomorrow. But yeah, then after that I have Starship Repo by Patrick S. Tomlinson, and then I have the graphic novel, which is Gender Queer, a Memoir by Maya Kobabe, which I'm very excited to read. I think that one is my most anticipated for my reads for this month, because I'm just really excited to see how that plays out, because I believe it deals with a actual own voices trans story, I think. I mean, it's a memoir graphic novel, so I would assume it is, but then Genderqueer is actually one of my more anticipated reads for this month because of the fact that it is a trans own voices graphic novel contemporary. So I'm very excited to see how that one is, because I love reading these kinds of stories that talk about, growing up and figuring out who you are and kind of stuff like that. I love those kinds of nonfiction stories. So I am pretty excited, and I just realized that that one actually will count for one of my challenges for the month. Ooh, that'll make things a lot easier for me, even though I had Paper Girls set as that for my format I don't typically read and my graphic novel challenge, but I might be able to split them, because one's technically an ebook, which is a format I read quite a bit, so I think that could work. But anyway, I'm going to go and finish off the rest of the night, and I'll let you guys know tomorrow night what my final thoughts are for Homecoming for the Cowboy are. Hey guys, so it is now Thursday the 13th. It is, I think, after 9 o'clock at night now, and I just finished Homecoming for the Cowboy by Nicole Helm. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars because it was good, it was entertaining for what I needed, but overall was not meeting the expectations I expected. The brooding male character and the fix-it-all female character were just kind of run-of-the-mill, nothing really spectacular. They weren't as in-depth, I think, as I wanted them to be, and the sex scenes were not really that in-depth. They were very YA feeling, which was very bizarre considering this is an adult romance. So overall, I mean, like, the story got me through, you know, the whole thing. It was enjoyable for the time being, but it wasn't really that spectacular in my opinion. The next book I'm going to be reading is going to be Starship Repo by Patrick S. Tomlinson. It is a sci-fi novel. I don't know if it's YA or adult. I haven't had a chance to look at it. And then after that, the last arc I will have from May is going to be Genderqueer, a memoir by Maya Kobabe. So psych, guys, apparently I'm not going to read Starship Repo. So apparently Starship Repo is a part of a larger series. Now, it's not like a second book in a series, but it is a part of, I think, an entire sci-fi world, because I found out through Goodreads that there's another book that came out in 2018 that I think is called Gatecrashers, and has a very similar style to the cover of Starship Repo, and is also part of this series called The Breach. So I'm assuming that Starship Repo is technically a second novel within this series. And of course, like many books that I go to read, I realized that I didn't actually download the graphic novel for Genderqueer, so it's archived now on NetGalley, so now I can't access it at all. That's just great. Hey guys, so it is Friday, June 14th. It is just about 6:15 in the evening, I think, and I didn't start Paper Girls until just a little bit ago, and I finished it. Obviously, this was a graphic novel, so it was very quick to move through. Paper Girls is my completed book that is taking up 2 challenges. The first one being to read a graphic novel, which is one of the sidekick challenges, and I believe one of the general challenges for everyone in the BiblioGames, which is to read a book in a format that you don't typically read. I don't typically read graphic novels very often. I just recently got into them. This is the second one I think I've read, and I do like the format. It definitely is a lot faster to move through, and I definitely see the appeal to it. Personally, this one was okay, and I think that because it's a first graphic novel in a series that is very quick paced, is very, you know, it has a lot of unanswered questions because it's the first one. It's not as compelling. I think if it would have been a little bit longer, it would have had a little bit more of an impact on me because I would have maybe had a couple other questions answered. But regardless of that, you know, it was very, you know, enjoyable for what I read. I am looking forward to reading more of it. Now, unfortunately, I am not able to get my hands on Not Your Sidekick just yet. I decided that instead of buying the Kindle version, I was going to use my public library to get the book because I had realized it was not on overdrive, and so I went to the library today after I got out of work to see if they had it in the library, and unfortunately they don't, but I am able to get it transferred. So tomorrow, I didn't have my library card with me though, unfortunately, so tomorrow I'm going back to the library to get that book transferred to this library, and that way I will be able to read it. It should take about a week for the book to come in. The next book that I am going to be working on, because I can't get Not Your Sidekick as of yet, is going to be The Brooding Duke of Danforth by Christine Miller, I believe is the author. This is another adult romance. This is my first June arc. Hey guys, so it is Saturday. It is, I think, maybe almost 12:30 in the afternoon, and I've already gotten my groceries for the day. I went and cleaned up the apartment a little bit and took care of some of the laundry, or at least I folded it. And I'm gonna get ready to do some writing. I'm gonna write those reviews, work on a freelance assignment, and then also work on my book a little bit. As far as my reading progress, I tried reading The Brooding Duke of Danforth by Christine Miller. I got through like 23 pages of it, and I really didn't like it. It was, I think the time period I wasn't really that interested in, because it was kind of like 18th, 19th century romance, and I wasn't really that interested in it. Plus, I kind of thought that the guy was a bit of a jerk, and I wasn't really interested in it after the first couple chapters. So then I tried reading Breaking Bailey by Anonymous, but I realized I didn't have it in my Kindle, and then it was archived, so I couldn't get to it. So the next one I'm going to work on is called The Starter Wife by Nina Lauren. It is another thriller story. This deals with a woman who is married to this guy who his first wife had disappeared, and nobody knew where she went. Nobody knew if she was kidnapped and murdered, but basically they find her car, but she's not there, and she's up and disappeared completely, and the police have basically just said, you know, she's probably dead, we're going to close the case. But now remarried, this new wife ends up getting a call from some person she doesn't know, but she thinks that it is the first wife, and she's kind of determined to find out what exactly happened to her and where she is and what's going on exactly. Okay, so it is now 9:45 on Saturday, and this evening was actually kind of fun. So Robert and I ended up actually going out to dinner tonight, which is why I ended up changing my shirt. Afterwards, we ended up going and doing laundry with our friend Ryan because we needed to get laundry done, and we like to do those things with him because it gives us a chance to hang out with him for a little bit since we don't typically get to see him during the rest of the week. And he lives in town, so it's kind of a nice excuse for us to hang out with him. I read through about 70 pages of The Starter Wife by Nina Lauren, and that's about, I'm like almost a quarter of the way through it, and I like it a lot actually. There is a character in here who from the very beginning is basically portrayed to be a stalker of the husband, so I think she might have something to do with the disappearance of the first wife, and I think she's the one who is actually making the second wife, the main character, feel like that the first wife is still alive. Now, that's going off of what the prologue basically showed me, because the prologue was basically from this stalker character. Honestly, the main character is not my favorite. She's a little whiny. But the thing is that she's very, very insecure, because the main character is, like I said, the second wife of this man, and she is 20 years his junior. So she's 20 years younger than him. He is in his late 40s and she is in her late 20s. So the age gap is it's incredibly difficult for her because, for one, he has different expectations. He may even find that because he's a literature professor that he might find someone else, like a student of his, that he's more interested in. And so she's a lot of insecurities regarding that. And then also because she doesn't know much about what happened to his first wife, where it was assumed that she committed suicide, she also kind of has a little bit of an insecurity in the fact that she doesn't feel like he trusts her with it. And she's very kind of on guard because she doesn't also know that if something did happen to her, if she is the next target kind of thing. Like, she doesn't know if she's somehow going to be in the crosshairs of whatever is going on with her husband. So there is a lot to unpack with that character. There is a lot of insecurities that need to be unpacked with her, but a lot of it is making her seem to be a lot more whiny, but given the circumstances, I kind of understand. Good morning, everyone. It is Sunday, June 16th. I've just woken up, so I'm very sorry if I sound like crap and if I look like crap. Last night, after I talked to you guys, I got a call from my mom who was saying that basically the plans that they had for today, which was to go watch a softball game for one of my sister's friends, got canceled because we've been getting a lot of rain again recently, and the fields were like just basically drowned out. So they were canceled, and because today's Father's Day, and I wasn't going to be able to go home to visit my family, they decided that they were going to come up to see me today so that we could go have Father's Day breakfast with my dad, and he would be able to see me on Father's Day because I basically told them I was not going to be able to because of the fact that it is a lot of gas to drive back and forth as often as I would want to. Hey guys, so it is 10:30 now at night, and I just finished The Starter Wife by Nina Lauren. Holy fucking shit, this was a ride. Oh my gosh. So obviously I'm giving this like a 5 out of 5 stars because Holy mother of God, this book had everything. From beginning to end, there was so much like tension and anxiety running through the story. And then you get to the last like 40% of the novel and everything changes because there is some major shit that is brought up about what is really happening with the story, and it turns everything on its head. There is going to be some content issues though, or not content issues, but content warnings. So trigger warnings for sexual abuse, alcoholism, infertility if you struggle with that, because there is a lot of talk about infertility. Also, there is a lot of stalker mentions within this novel, and just there's a lot that is packed into this novel that is incredibly scary for any individual, because the story is essentially following a woman who believes that she is being targeted or she's being stalked and trying to be picked off by someone who may have killed the first wife of this husband, and she doesn't know who. The story is kind of split up between the wife and someone that you don't know who that is apparently trying to kill off the wife in the story, Claire. And I gotta say, this story really took me for a ride. I was not expecting it to go at all in the way that it went. I had a bit of an idea of what was happening. Like, I thought that we would find out eventually who the stalker was, but I had no idea that Nina Lauren basically would change everything about the idea of the stalker on its head. So there was so much packed into that aspect of the story, and when you find out who exactly the real stalker is and who exactly is behind all of this, there was a lot to unpack with it, and I can't really get into it without spoiling anything, because to try to talk about what the villain of the story is and why they did what they did, it would really spoil a lot of the story. Like, it would spoil like the last 40% of the novel. So if you really like thrillers specifically, and you really like psychological thrillers in a way, because I think would count as a psychological thriller, this is definitely one to go for. But I think this is honestly one of the darkest books I read, and I thought The Rules of Birkin by Tracy Finlay was freaking dark, because that one was really, really messed up in a lot of ways when I read that in April. But this one is way more messed up, I think, in a lot of ways. I mean, you could probably say that both are about as dark as the other, but this was really, really messed up, and I really enjoyed it despite how messed up it was. Like, this is the kind of thriller that I wish I could write, because it is so dark, it is so messed up, and it honestly really shows the depths of evil that can come from different individuals. So as far as my progress for this week, I basically completed 4 books now, which, holy crap, that is way more than I expected. So basically now what my plan is going into this next week is I'm hoping to start my next arc, which is 13th Guardian. Audiobook for A Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin finally came in today, so I will be starting that tomorrow morning as I'm getting ready for work and head off to work. Let me know how your guys' reading is going for the BiblioGames. If you're doing well, are you completing your challenges? If not, what's going on? You know, what are you reading? What are you working with? Are you liking the stuff you're reading? Or are you kind of like me, where it's like the majority of your stuff you're liking, but you're kind of finding some things where you're just like, about. So anyway, I'm gonna basically sign off for the night, and I will talk to all of you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.